Welcome to Askprep, your trusted destination for focused and effective learning. Today, we will study ancient knowledge that shaped the modern world. The forgotten foundations. Modern civilization often presents itself as a triumph of recent science and innovation. Skyscrapers, satellites, artificial intelligence, and global communication give the impression that humanity has only recently become intelligent. But this belief hides a deeper truth. Long before modern laboratories and universities existed, ancient civilizations were already exploring the mysteries of mathematics, medicine, astronomy, engineering, and philosophy. This documentary is a journey into humanity's forgotten intellectual heritage. Across deserts, rivers, mountains, and oceans, ancient cultures developed systems of knowledge that still shape our world today. Their ideas were not primitive guesses. They were structured, tested, refined, and often astonishingly accurate. From the geometry of Egypt to the astronomy of India, from Greek philosophy to Chinese medicine, ancient knowledge became the invisible foundation of modern science. This is the story of how ancient wisdom survived time, collapse, conquest, and neglect, and continues to influence the modern world. Mesopotamia, the birthplace of science and writing. Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the world's first urban civilization emerged, Mesopotamia. Here, humans transitioned from nomadic life to organized society. To manage crops, trade, and taxes, they invented writing, cuneiform, the earliest known writing system. Mesopotamians created the base 60 number system, which still defines how we measure time: 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 360 degrees of a circle. They developed early algebra, geometry, and astronomical tables to predict eclipses and planetary movements. Law, too, was systematized. The Code of Hammurabi established written legal principles, justice, contracts, and accountability, concepts still central to modern legal systems. Mesopotamia proved that knowledge, when recorded, could outlive generations. Mesopotamian scholars believed that the universe followed patterns that could be observed, recorded, and interpreted. To understand these patterns, they developed some of the earliest systematic methods of observation. Priests doubled as astronomers, carefully recording the movements of stars and planets on clay tablets. Over centuries, these observations allowed them to identify repeating celestial cycles, forming the foundation of predictive astronomy rather than myth-based explanations. Education in Mesopotamia was highly structured. Specialized schools known as edubas trained scribes in mathematics, writing, accounting, and law. Students memorized thousands of symbols and copied texts repeatedly, ensuring accuracy and continuity of knowledge. This formal education system created a professional class of intellectuals, demonstrating that knowledge was already becoming a specialized discipline rather than a shared tribal skill. Trade played a crucial role in the spread of Mesopotamian knowledge. Merchants traveling across Anatolia, the Indus Valley, and the Persian Gulf carried not only goods but also numerical systems, measurement standards, and record-keeping techniques. As these ideas moved across regions, they influenced other civilizations, proving that globalization of knowledge began thousands of years before the modern era. Mesopotamians also explored the concept of cause and effect in natural events. Floods, droughts, and diseases were increasingly documented alongside environmental conditions. While divine explanations remained common, early attempts at pattern recognition show the beginnings of empirical thinking. This gradual shift from pure superstition to observation-based understanding marked a critical step towards scientific reasoning. Perhaps most importantly, Mesopotamia introduced the idea that knowledge should be preserved beyond a single lifetime. Clay tablets stored in temples and palaces functioned as the world's first archives. Even after cities fell and empires collapsed, these tablets survived, allowing modern archaeologists to reconstruct humanity's earliest intellectual journey. In doing so, Mesopotamia ensured that human knowledge could transcend time itself. Ancient Egypt, engineering, medicine, and sacred geometry. The pyramids of Egypt are not just tombs, they are mathematical masterpieces. Built with astonishing precision, they reflect advanced knowledge of geometry, surveying, and astronomy. The Great Pyramid aligns almost perfectly with true north, a feat modern engineers still admire. Egyptian medicine was centuries ahead of its time. Medical papyri describe surgeries, diagnosis, herbal treatments, and an understanding of anatomy gained through mummification. Doctors specialized in different fields: dentistry, surgery, internal medicine. Sacred geometry guided Egyptian architecture and philosophy. They believed mathematics was the language of the universe. This belief later influenced Greek thinkers and, through them, Western science itself. Egyptian knowledge was deeply tied to the natural rhythms of the Nile River. Annual flooding was not seen as chaos, but as a predictable cycle that could be measured and planned for. By observing water levels and seasonal changes, Egyptian scholars developed early hydrology and agricultural science. This allowed them to manage food surplus, prevent famine, and sustain one of the longest-lasting civilizations in human history. Architecture in ancient Egypt followed strict symbolic and mathematical principles. Temples and monuments were designed as three-dimensional representations of cosmic order, reflecting the belief that harmony on Earth maintained balance in the universe. Proportional systems guided everything from column spacing to ceiling height, influencing later architectural traditions in Greece and Rome. Egyptian medical practice emphasized diagnosis over superstition more than commonly assumed. Physicians recorded symptoms, predicted outcomes, and recommended treatments based on prior cases. Medical texts distinguish between curable and incurable diseases, suggesting an early understanding of prognosis. This rational approach to healthcare became a blueprint for later medical systems. Writing in Egypt was not merely a communication tool but a technology of preservation. Hieroglyphs, hieratic, and demotic scripts allowed knowledge to be stored across generations. Administrative records, scientific instructions, and religious philosophies were carefully copied, creating continuity even during political instability. This written tradition enabled Egyptian ideas to influence neighboring cultures long after Egypt's decline. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Egyptian knowledge was its integration of science, spirituality, and daily life. There was no sharp division between religion and science; both were methods of understanding reality. This holistic worldview shaped ethics, governance, medicine, and engineering, reminding us that ancient knowledge systems were complex, unified, and deeply sophisticated. Ancient India: mathematics, astronomy, and zero. Ancient India made one of the most revolutionary contributions to human knowledge: the concept of zero. Without zero, modern mathematics, computers, and digital technology would not exist. Indian mathematicians like Aryabhatta calculated the value of pi, explained eclipses scientifically, and proposed that the Earth rotates on its axis, over 1,000 years before Europe accepted the idea. The decimal system, now used worldwide, originated here. Indian astronomy treated the universe as a system governed by laws, not gods. Knowledge was preserved through oral tradition and later texts like the Vedas and Siddhants, influencing Islamic and European science centuries later. Knowledge in ancient India was preserved through a unique combination of oral precision and written tradition. Complex mathematical formulas, astronomical calculations, and philosophical ideas were memorized with extraordinary accuracy using rhythmic patterns and structured recitation. This system ensured that even before widespread writing, scientific knowledge remained stable for centuries without distortion. Indian scholars viewed mathematics as both a practical and philosophical discipline. Numbers were not merely tools for trade or construction but representations of cosmic order. This abstract approach allowed Indian mathematicians to explore concepts like infinity, negative numbers, and large numerical scales, ideas that later became essential to advanced mathematics and theoretical physics. Ancient Indian astronomy emphasized long-term observation rather than short-term prediction. Astronomers tracked planetary movements over generations, compiling detailed star catalogues and time cycles spanning thousands of years. This long-view perspective enabled highly accurate calendars, which governed agriculture, religious rituals, and social organization across the subcontinent. Medical knowledge in ancient India evolved alongside mathematics and astronomy. The Ayurvedic system approached health as a balance between body, mind, and environment. Detailed surgical techniques, including cataract surgery and wound reconstruction, were documented long before similar methods appeared elsewhere. These practices influenced medical traditions far beyond India's borders. Perhaps the most enduring legacy of ancient Indian knowledge is its adaptability. As ideas traveled through trade routes into Central Asia, the Islamic world, and eventually Europe, they were absorbed, translated, and expanded. Modern mathematics and science did not emerge in isolation, they are the result of centuries of accumulated Indian intellectual innovation woven into global knowledge systems. Ancient China, medicine, engineering, and natural philosophy. Chinese civilization developed knowledge focused on balance and harmony with nature. Traditional Chinese medicine viewed the human body as an interconnected system, an idea modern holistic medicine is rediscovering today. China gave the world 4 transformative inventions: paper, printing, the compass, and gunpowder. These innovations reshaped communication, navigation, warfare, and education globally. Chinese engineers built earthquake detectors, complex irrigation systems, and mechanical clocks. Their philosophy emphasized observation, experimentation, and long-term sustainability, principles essential to modern environmental science. Ancient Chinese scholars approached knowledge through careful observation of natural patterns. Seasons, weather cycles, animal behavior, and plant growth were studied over centuries to identify repeating rhythms. This empirical tradition allowed Chinese thinkers to anticipate natural events, manage agriculture efficiently, and reduce the risks of famine, reinforcing the idea that survival depended on understanding nature rather than conquering it. Chinese engineering excelled in large-scale public infrastructure. Extensive canal systems, including the foundations of the Grand Canal, connected distant regions and stabilized the economy by enabling food redistribution during shortages. These hydraulic projects required advanced planning, surveying, and material science, demonstrating an early mastery of civil engineering principles still applied today. In Chinese thought, technology was inseparable from ethics. Innovations were evaluated not only for efficiency but for their impact on social harmony. This philosophical restraint shaped governance, urban planning, and resource use, offering an alternative model of progress, one that valued sustainability and balance over unchecked expansion. The longevity of Chinese knowledge systems lies in their continuity. Dynasties rose and fell, but scholarly traditions endured through standardized education, imperial examinations, and official record-keeping. This uninterrupted transmission ensured that discoveries were refined rather than lost, allowing ancient Chinese insights to quietly shape the foundations of modern science, medicine, and environmental thinking. Ancient Greece logic, philosophy, and scientific method. Ancient Greece transformed knowledge by asking why. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle laid the foundations of logic, ethics, political science, and scientific inquiry. Greek mathematicians proved theorems still taught today. Euclid's Elements shaped geometry for over 2000 years. Archimedes discovered principles of physics still used in engineering. Greek thinkers separated myth from reason, creating a framework where ideas could be debated, tested, and refined, a cornerstone of modern science and democracy. Greek thinkers introduced the radical idea that nature could be understood without invoking divine intervention for every phenomenon. Earthquakes, diseases, and celestial movements were increasingly examined as natural processes governed by underlying principles. This shift encouraged systematic inquiry and laid the psychological groundwork for modern scientific investigation. Public debate played a crucial role in Greek knowledge development. In open forums and academies, ideas were challenged rather than accepted by authority. Logical argument, evidence, and counterargument became tools for refining truth. This culture of intellectual confrontation shaped disciplines such as political theory, law, and ethics, influencing democratic systems still in use today. Greek advancements in biology and medicine emphasized direct observation of living organisms. Physicians studied anatomy, classified diseases, and emphasized lifestyle, diet, and environment in treatment. These methods represented an early form of clinical practice, moving medicine closer to a science rather than a mystical art. Perhaps Greece's most lasting contribution was the concept of universal knowledge. Greek scholars believed that truth was not bound to geography or culture, it could be discovered, shared, and applied anywhere. This idea transformed knowledge into a collective human pursuit, enabling later civilizations to build upon Greek foundations and accelerating the global evolution of science and philosophy. The Islamic Golden Age preservers and innovators. As Europe entered the Dark Ages, the Islamic world became the guardian of ancient knowledge. Scholars translated Greek, Indian, and Persian texts into Arabic, preserving them from destruction. But they did more than preserve, they innovated. Al-Khwarizmi formalized algebra. Physicians like Ibn Sina, Avicenna, wrote medical textbooks used in Europe for centuries. Hospitals, universities, libraries, and peer review systems flourished. Without this intellectual bridge, much of ancient knowledge might have been lost forever. Scholars of the Islamic Golden Age viewed knowledge as a moral responsibility. Learning was considered an act of devotion, encouraging rulers and institutions to actively support research, translation, and education. This cultural respect for knowledge created an environment where scholars from different religions and ethnic backgrounds collaborated, accelerating intellectual progress. Scientific experimentation flourished during this period. Scholars emphasized observation, hypothesis, and verification, principles central to the modern scientific method. In fields such as optics, chemistry, and medicine, controlled experimentation replaced speculation, marking a decisive shift from philosophical reasoning alone to evidence-based science. Geography and navigation advanced dramatically due to the needs of trade, pilgrimage, and administration. Detailed maps, accurate measurements of Earth's circumference, and improved navigational instruments enabled long-distance travel across land and sea. These advancements later empowered European explorers and reshaped global history. The Islamic Golden Age also institutionalized knowledge. Libraries, hospitals, and universities operated as organized centers of research rather than isolated schools. Medical licensing, standardized curricula, and peer evaluation ensured quality and accountability, systems that remain fundamental to modern academic and scientific institutions. Maya, Inca, and Aztec astronomy without telescopes. In the Americas, civilizations developed advanced knowledge independently. The Maya calendar was more accurate than Europe's at the time. They tracked planetary cycles with incredible precision. The Inca built earthquake-resistant cities and vast road networks without wheels or iron. Their agricultural knowledge allowed farming in extreme mountain environments. These civilizations prove that advanced knowledge does not follow a single path, it emerges wherever humans observe, adapt, and innovate. Mesoamerican civilizations developed astronomy not for curiosity alone, but for survival. Agricultural cycles, religious ceremonies, and political authority were all tied to celestial events. By aligning temples and cities with solstices and equinoxes, these societies transformed the sky into a calendar that governed daily life with remarkable precision. The Maya demonstrated a deep understanding of time as a repeating system rather than a linear progression. Their long count calendar tracked vast cycles spanning thousands of years, reflecting a sophisticated grasp of astronomical periodicity. This perspective allowed them to predict eclipses and planetary alignments with accuracy unmatched in much of the contemporary world. In the Andean region, the Inca applied scientific thinking to extreme geography. Without written language, they preserved engineering knowledge through practice and visual memory. Stone masonry techniques allowed structures to withstand earthquakes, while terrace farming optimized water flow and soil stability, proving that advanced engineering does not require metal tools or wheels. The Aztecs integrated observation, ritual, and governance into a unified knowledge system. Education in astronomy, mathematics, and history was institutionalized, particularly for administrators and priests. This structured transmission of knowledge ensured continuity and accuracy, revealing a level of intellectual organization often underestimated in pre-Columbian societies. Ancient Africa mathematics, metallurgy, and education. Africa's intellectual history is often ignored, but ancient civilizations like Nubia, Mali, and Ethiopia were centers of learning. The University of Timbuktu housed thousands of manuscripts on astronomy, law, and medicine. African metallurgists mastered iron smelting independently. Mathematical patterns appeared in architecture, art, and social organization. Knowledge was transmitted through both written texts and oral tradition, demonstrating that intelligence is not limited to one form of preservation. Ancient African societies developed advanced systems of knowledge rooted in observation of nature and community needs. Astronomy was used to determine farming seasons, navigation routes, and ceremonial dates. Stone circles, monuments, and alignments across regions such as the Sahara and East Africa reveal systematic sky observation long before external contact. African metallurgical knowledge was remarkably independent and innovative. Iron production emerged in multiple regions without direct influence from the Middle East or Europe. Skilled metallurgists controlled temperature, airflow, and chemical balance, producing tools and weapons that transformed agriculture, trade, and warfare, accelerating social and economic development. Education in ancient Africa extended beyond formal institutions. Knowledge was transmitted through apprenticeships, oral histories, music, and symbolism. Griots and scholars acted as living libraries, preserving genealogy, law, science, and philosophy with extraordinary accuracy. This oral system ensured adaptability while maintaining intellectual continuity. Centers of learning such as Timbuktu demonstrate that Africa was deeply connected to global intellectual networks. Manuscripts covering mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and ethics circulated across North Africa and beyond. These texts reveal a tradition of critical thinking, debate, and scholarship that challenges outdated narratives about Africa's intellectual past. Lost knowledge and mysteries. Some ancient knowledge remains unexplained. How were massive stones transported? How did ancient maps show accurate coastlines? Why do similar mathematical patterns appear across distant civilizations? Disasters, wars, and cultural collapse erased libraries and traditions. What we know today may be only a fragment of what once existed. Modern science is beginning to rediscover this lost knowledge through archaeology, satellite imaging, and AI analysis. Across the ancient world, evidence suggests that certain technologies appeared suddenly and disappeared just as quickly. Precision stonework, unexplained alloys, and architectural alignments challenge our assumptions about ancient capabilities. These anomalies raise a critical question: was ancient knowledge more advanced than what survived in written records? The destruction of libraries represents one of the greatest intellectual losses in human history. The Library of Alexandria alone may have contained centuries of accumulated scientific and philosophical knowledge. When such centers vanished through war, neglect, or disaster, entire schools of thought disappeared, leaving gaps that modern scholars can only attempt to reconstruct. Myths and legends may preserve fragments of lost science. Stories of flying machines, advanced weapons, and global floods appear across cultures separated by oceans. While often dismissed as symbolism, these narratives may encode observations of real events, natural disasters, forgotten technologies, or lost civilizations, expressed through metaphor. Modern technology is reopening the investigation of lost knowledge. Satellite imagery reveals buried cities beneath jungles and deserts. Artificial intelligence identifies patterns invisible to the human eye. As science advances, it increasingly suggests that the past may still hold secrets capable of reshaping our understanding of human progress. Ancient knowledge in modern science. Modern science often confirms ancient insights. Herbal medicines inspire pharmaceuticals. Ancient climate records help predict future change. Architectural principles guide sustainable design. Even quantum physics echoes ancient philosophical ideas about interconnected reality. The past is not obsolete, it is embedded in our present. Many modern scientific breakthroughs have emerged not from entirely new ideas, but from the reinterpretation of ancient knowledge. Archaeological texts, traditional practices and long-forgotten theories are increasingly being examined through the lens of modern technology. What once seemed symbolic or mystical is now revealing empirical logic embedded within ancient systems of thought. In medicine, ancient observations continue to influence contemporary research. Herbal remedies documented thousands of years ago are being chemically analyzed, leading to the development of new pharmaceuticals. Ancient surgical techniques and diagnostic methods provide insight into human anatomy and disease progression, demonstrating that early physicians relied on careful observation rather than blind ritual. Modern engineering and architecture frequently rediscover ancient principles of sustainability. Passive cooling systems, natural ventilation, earthquake-resistant structures, and climate-adaptive design were mastered by ancient builders. Today, these ideas are being revived to address modern challenges such as energy efficiency and environmental resilience. Perhaps most profoundly, ancient philosophical ideas are finding new relevance in cutting-edge science. Concepts of interconnectedness, balance, and cyclical time resonate with systems theory, ecology, and even quantum physics. As science advances, it increasingly echoes insights first articulated by ancient thinkers, suggesting that humanity's intellectual journey is a continuous loop rather than a straight line. Ancient knowledge reminds us that progress is not linear. Humanity rises, falls, forgets, and remembers. The modern world stands not on new ideas alone, but on the accumulated wisdom of thousands of years. To build the future, we must respect the past, not as myth, but as science, experience, and human curiosity. The ancient world is not behind us. It lives within us. Thank you for being a valued part of Askprep. Your continuous support and trust motivate us to create meaningful, reliable, and high-quality educational content every day. We are committed to guiding you through your learning journey and helping you achieve your academic and career goals.